You've asked for more family-friendly recipes and this is one of them. This is a tuna and potato bake full of flavour that the whole family is going to like. I've just been frying off some onions and to this I'm going to add some silver beet. Silver beet is full of flavour. If you didn't want to use silver beet, you could absolutely use some spinach or other leafy greens like kale. And because it's a little tougher down the base here, I'm going to cook the stalks first. Again, loads of flavour in the stalk and there's no point wasting it because it cooks down really well and also gives loads of flavour. So we'll start with the base there. Depending on how big your silver beet leaves are, you probably only need about 3 to 4 leaves. So in with the stalks and we just want to soften them up with our onions. With all of these leaves, we're just going to scrunch it up and then cook it down. This recipe is super adaptable. You can add loads of different vegetables depending on what your family likes. So if you wanted to grate a carrot, you could add it at this stage, some celery, even other vegetables like sweet potato and pumpkin is a fantastic addition to this base. Right, we'll just let that cook off for a moment and we can get on to the glue that's going to stick the tuna and the potatoes together. In a bowl, I'll add 3 eggs. So we'll just crack them straight in. 1, 2, and the last one, in it goes. I don't want this to taste too eggy, so I like the addition of some thickened cream. We want about 300 mils. We'll pour that in. And to give this some flavour, freshly cracked pepper, a good pinch of salt, and I love my cheese, so I'm going to add some Parmesan, freshly grated Parmesan for this. You could also use some cheddar. So we want a good handful of Parmesan. I'll also keep this Parmesan on standby because I'll add some more to the layers. Some oregano, and we'll just grab a whisk and then whisk all that together. Good. So we've got our sliced potatoes, we've got our cream and egg mixture, our tuna, and then to finish this off, I'm just going to add our silver beet leaves and let that cook down for about 5 minutes or until it becomes quite wilted. See how much the silver beet has cooked down. I've just turned the heat off and we can start building. So just in a baking dish of your choice, a little extra virgin olive oil and just get your hands in there and just make sure that you spread it evenly. We don't want anything to stick. I also want to form a little crust on this. So I'm just going to use some breadcrumbs just to sprinkle on the base and just around the sides. I like to start with a potato layer. These are just Desiree potatoes that I've finely sliced. You can do this on a mandolin, or if you're going to do it with a knife, just be really careful. You also want to get them roughly the same thickness so they cook evenly. So that's the first layer, and I'm using something round just to form that bit of a rose shape around the baking dish. Just press down on it. We want it to be quite compact as it cooks. I'll add some of the onion and silver beet mixture. Spreading that, just a nice thin layer of everything for this. And for our hit of protein, some canned tuna. I've just drained the tuna and we just want little speckles of it throughout the whole dish. So just sprinkling it over. You'll need 2 cans of tuna for this recipe. And this is where I pour over some of our cream mixture, just a small drizzle. I also like to add some more cheese. And now we just continue on with the layers. So back to the start, the potatoes. Okay, we're just arranging the last of the potatoes over the beautiful tuna there. And a few more just to cover it up. And it is quite full, but you really want to press down on it. Another sprinkle of breadcrumbs. And then for a golden finish, lots of Parmesan. So we'll just rain that over. Okay, done. So I'm going to glad foil this and it's going to cook covered for about 30 minutes. I'll remove the foil and it cooks for another further 20 to 30 minutes. And in the last 10 minutes, what I like to do is add some cherry tomatoes just for a pop of sweetness, and it looks fantastic. There you go, that's my jazzed up tuna bake. Layers of potato, silver beet, onion, that lovely tuna. This is a dish that I do over and over again because quite simply, it's a crowd pleaser. I have a friend that has recently started a FODMAP diet, and that means she can't have wheat and she can't have her favourite thing, which is fresh garlic. But I have found a solution for her. Helene is going to love this recipe. It's a combination of gluten-free spaghetti, which is fantastic, and this low FODMAP certified garlic-infused extra virgin olive oil. You get all the full flavour from it without having the fresh garlic in it. So this is a very fast recipe. We've got to get that pasta in. It's going to take about 5 to 6 minutes to cook. Rapidly boiling water, a good pinch of salt, and I'm just going to add a little of this pasta in. It's quite thin, this pasta, so it really doesn't need too long. And just in true Italian form, we want it to be al dente. So I'll just get my tongs and just loosen that. Don't put the lid back on when you're cooking pasta. And now for the sauce. So we just want this on a medium heat. We'll add our garlic-infused extra virgin olive oil, a good glug of it because this is the sauce. And then I'll add some chilli. Now, this is a combination of a long red chilli and a short red chilli. We'll pop that in. I'm now going to add some parsley. Now, I'm going to use the stalks for the sauce. And then all of these beautiful leaves, I'm going to just fold through right at the end, just for that freshness. In that goes. And we're just going to give that a toss and just let all of this warm up on a low heat until the pasta is cooked. Okay, pasta is cooked, it's al dente, and I like some of that starchy water to go in. So straight in there. I can smell that beautiful garlic extra virgin olive oil. We'll give that a toss. And don't forget the rest of that parsley. I'll only need half of this. I'll just roughly chop it, sprinkle that over the top. Look at those beautiful fresh flavours, and then toss that. Plate this up. And if you like, just for that real freshness, a small drizzle of that garlic-infused extra virgin olive oil. The simplest of dishes, and everyone can enjoy it. I think Helene is going to love that one, just for you. Here's my Greek-inspired salmon and rice salad. What I like most about it, it's served warm, so you really taste all of the flavours that I'm going to be putting together. Now you want a long grain rice for this, and I'm using basmati rice, which is grown in India. It's a great long grain rice that is super fragrant. I've washed my rice 3 times, so it's not too starchy, and I've just got my pot on, so it's on a medium heat. We'll start with half an onion, and I'm just going to slice the onion. You want it to be quite thin, and what I like to do is sweat this off in some butter. The butter is going to flavour this rice up. So we want about 15 to 20 grams of butter. I'm using some salted butter, and we'll cut that off into the pot. Now, when you're cooking with butter, you don't want the pan to be too hot because it will burn. We just want it to gently melt away as it is now, and we'll add our onions. So just break them up, and then in they go. You could also add just a small splash of extra virgin olive oil at this stage, and that'll ensure that our butter doesn't burn. So just a small drizzle along with a pinch of salt. Give that a stir, and once they just start to soften, we can add our rice. So we have 1 cup of rice, and we want to add 1.5 cups of water. So in with the washed rice, scrape that down. Before we add the water, just coat it in that lovely butter and onion mixture. Oh, it smells good. A small pinch of salt, and then in with our water. So that'll just cover our rice. What I love about rice is it cooks so fast. So that's going to come up to the boil. Then I'll add the lid, turn it down, and just let it cook until all of that water has been absorbed. While that's cooking, I'll just prepare a few herbs. So my herb of choice with this would have to be dill. Very Greek inspired. Along with some spring onions, I'm going to chop them all up really, really finely. All right, let's have a look at the rice. Oh, it smells so good, all that butter and the onions. And look how fluffy it is without being sticky. See how the grains are separating? That's what we're after. Now, you can pop this into a bowl and mix all the other ingredients together, or just use this pot as the bowl. We're going to add our dill and the spring onions. I don't mind if they wilt slightly, that's okay. And to this, I'm going to add some canned salmon. This is a very economical style dish. These are the ingredients that I have. I've always got lemons, salmon in a can, and rice to make up a lovely bulky salad just like this one. Great. Now for some lemon. I like the lemon zest and some of the juice. So zest in of the whole lemon so we really taste that zinginess. And we'll just cut this lemon in half and a good squeeze. Squeeze that in. This is going to be our vinaigrette essentially, which is just lemon, oil, salt and pepper. That's all you need for this. Salt, some pepper, and just the smallest amount of olive oil because we do have that butter in there. Okay, using the fork again because it just ensures that all those grains stay fluffy. We're just going to fold everything together. Nice big platter for this, and we'll just pour the rice into the centre. Look at those speckles of salmon and the herbs. Fantastic. The last thing we want to add to this to make it Greek inspired is some feta. So we'll grab some feta and just sprinkle that over the top. And that is my Indian basmati rice salad with a bit of a Greek twist. I love a recipe that has minimal ingredients, just like these homemade muesli bars. I love to make muesli bars from scratch because number one, you know exactly what's going into them and it's much more cost effective. So of course you need to start with some muesli. I'm using a natural muesli. You'll need 2 cups of muesli into a bowl. And to this, we need to add some peanut butter. So that's the second ingredient. I like to use smooth because I need it as a binding agent. And we've got lots of chunky deliciousness from the muesli. To this, we need some sweetener. So I'm using some honey. You could also use maple syrup for this. And now you really need to work these ingredients together. Don't be afraid to get 2 spoons in there and mush it together. Okay, you see after working it for a bit, it comes together and it's all sticky. There's no dry muesli whatsoever. Grab yourself a tray and I've just lined it with a bit of baking paper. That's just going to make it much easier to take out of the tin later on. We'll just pour that in. And spread that out. And once you've spread that out, just use the back of your spoon to really press it down. You want it to be quite compact. The more compact it is, the easier it is to cut our gorgeous little muesli bars. So keep pressing in. And now for the 4th ingredient, which is delicious chocolate. And I've just made myself a little piping bag with some baking paper. I'm just going to cut just a small tip at the end. And then I'm going to drizzle this chocolate over our muesli bars. So just squeeze that one way, turn the tray and squeeze it the other way, just to make a lovely pattern. And that's how easy it is to make muesli bars at home. Now this needs to set, just pop it into the fridge for about an hour and then we're ready to slice them. All right, this is set, so we'll take it out of its tray and we can cut our little muesli bars. So cut them one way and see how easy it is to cut because they're not too thick. And then I'm just going to turn that and cut the other way. So we've got perfect muesli bars with that lovely bit of chocolate. I'm going to place them on my gorgeous picnic style plate here, and I like to pile them up. And if you're looking for a delicious, wholesome afternoon tea for the kiddies, well, I suggest making these for them. They're going to love them. And why not get adventurous with it? I've added 4 simple ingredients, but by all means you can add lots of different things, some more dried fruit if you like. It's completely up to you. And that right there is afternoon tea sorted. The other day I made the most delicious sandwich filling and I thought, why not pop that into a baked potato? And it works well for a very simple midweek dinner. The best thing about it is most of the ingredients here you'll already have in your pantry or in your fridge. Now before we get on to this delicious filling, let's get our potatoes in the oven. So you want quite large potatoes. I'm leaving the skins on and I'll just bake 4, but the filling is enough for about 6. And you don't need to add salt, olive oil or anything. These go straight into the oven as is, 180, 200 degrees, and you want to cook them until they're absolutely tender. And I'll show you later on what we're looking for. So these will take about an hour. All right, while they're cooking, we can just make our filling. In fact, you can make this filling a day in advance if you like. In a bowl, 1 large can of tuna. I like to use the tuna that's in spring water, drain off the liquid. This one is great because it's going to be less oily. So we want that lovely flaky consistency of our tuna. And you can use some fresh corn if you like, but I've always got a can of corn kernels in my pantry. So in they go, about 100 grams is what we're after. To this, some kimchi. It's a Korean fermented cabbage. It's got a slight tang to it and it's also a little peppery. So in that goes. Now, we need to make this saucy, so I'm going to add a good amount of whole egg mayonnaise. And to give it some extra zing, some vinegar and some sesame oil, just a splash. And I just want a subtle onion flavour, so I'm going to be using some spring onions. And we just want the white and the light part. And I'll just finely slice it. So I'm going to mix this in, a little bit of salt and pepper, and we'll just pop it to the side until our potatoes are cooked. All right, the spuds are cooked. They took about an hour. Onto our presentation plate. And we're going to cut across in the centre of our potato. So cut one way, and I'm only going 3/4 of the way through because you do want the potato to hold its shape. And then I'm just going to pinch each quarter to expose that delicious flesh. Look how gorgeous these potatoes are, lovely and yellow. And now for our mixture. And you can see that this is quite saucy with all that mayonnaise through it. Absolutely delicious. If you wanted to, you could put a small knob of butter there because, as we know, potatoes do love their butter. And then in with our tuna mixture, pile it in there, stuff it as much as you can. How good does that look? And this is another fun little seasoning that I always have in my pantry. This is furikake. How good does that look? A really inexpensive meal for lunch or for dinner, and it's all about that yummy tuna filling. I love this. In fact, I love it that much. I have it every couple of weeks. It's delicious, and not just in a baked potato. Like I said, fantastic to add to your next sandwich.